Hi guys, I'm back. So I've been playing Genshin more and learning some lores, and I've ended up on a question that needs some investigation. Is Celestia evil? Now, I've come across many videos of people taking Celestia's side and saying it's not evil, but I mean so far that I've been playing, Celestia keeps taking L's from everyone, not gonna lie. So far I haven't heard one good story of Celestia helping us out down here. It's always, oh, Celestia started a war. Oh, yeah, Celestia? I hate those guys. Oh yeah, those guys eliminated my leader because he found out their secret and they wanted to eliminate us too. When we were already struggling deep underground and they possibly were behind that. Celestia, they cursed me, bro. I was just living, trying to help out some people, do some good, and they were like, nah, not today, not today. We're going to evaluate this question and give a rundown of what is Celestia. Go over why archons, our pals, the nice ones, who's been helping us, hate Celestia. All the deeds they did that wronged people, yeah, Celestia is not getting away easy today. If her sister is linked to them, and finally, we'll give them a chance and hear what others were saying about why they aren't evil, and we'll come to our conclusion. If your conclusions is different and you have a different perspective at the end, then tell me in the comments. I'm interested in your opinions as well. Before we go on, like and subscribe so I can keep making videos. Thank you. First off, for anyone who doesn't know, Celestia is a mysterious location that we don't know much about, but we can see it floating above us in the Tibet sky, and this is where the gods take residence. It's supposed to be controlled by the heavenly principles, who is the authority that oversees Tibet, Celestia, and even the archons. Celestia has been quiet since the catalysm 500 years ago. They pulled a massive destruction and dip basically. Now other than that, they've still been out here giving people visions. It's said that if you have great ambition and will, you'll be granted a vision from them, which is the first step that regular people can take to get a step closer to ascending to godhood, which would make them eligible to ascend to Celestia. Now that alone is questionable, because why is that needed if you've been silent for 500 years? Are you just gathering an army for your next mass destruction? But anyways, now we do know of a few people who have ascended to Celestia. We have Vanessa from Mondstadt, Falcon of the West, and Goya from Liyue. Probably pronounced that wrong. Now let's just speak about these two for a minute. First off, we know more about Vanessa. So she came from a wandering tribe from Natland way back in the day when Mondstadt was ruled by fat aristocracies who kept other people as slaves and for their own entertainment. So Vanessa was one of these slaves who said, yo, I'm gonna be a gladiator to fight for my people's freedom. And they were like, lol, sure, you're just gonna lose anyways, so go ahead. Venti was on her side, and eventually she won, giving her people freedom and while forming the Knights of Favonius. Celestia took wind of this situation and was like, whoa, we want you to join us. So she asked Venti about them, and he was naturally displeased on hearing this. His comment was, in other distant worlds, Hangu gave his blood to form the rivers and seas. The gods sacrificed Purusha and cut his body into pieces, and then fashioned all living beings with those parts. The brain of the giant Yemri became cloud. Their sacrifice seeded life in the unliving cosmos. These songs sing to the primeval ones. From the sound of it, it seems like everyone who ascended or had dealings with Celestia was sacrificed for Tevat, or the cycle of the world to go on in a different way. But Celestia is supposed to give us immortality, so how are we going to be sacrificed? Well, if you look at it this way, if you're clouds, you became the river and seas, technically you have immortality, because those things are naturally going to coexist if there is life. You can't just go and get rid of the water on the planet or brush away some clouds forever. It's somewhat of a trick with words type of deal. They say they give us immortality, but it's not the type of immortality we are thinking of. This plays well with the fact that when Vanessa got accepted up, the sealed doors opened for her, and whatever she saw and came to understand seeing that place shook her. Once the stone doors opened, we see what some people would call the perfect prison build, and there's some kind of mini island thing at the top. That can't be Celestia again, so I'm thinking either that's Tevat that they keep a watch on, like one of those holograms, or is actually their power source. If it is like a hologram or a simulation of Tevat, then who's to say that those cubes Mystery Lady put on us us is technically a cell that keeps us asleep and hooked up to us subconsciously to the world of Tibet, somewhat in a similar way to how we were running around in dreams with Nahida, but she couldn't tell us that we were in one unless we figured out ourselves. Something our sibling said to us as well. And with all the souls and subconscious energies hooked up to Tibet, it would be enough to power Celestia if we are kept in an illusion. Hence the fake sky, and hence how Celestia always knows what's going on and keeps a strong, watchful eye. Perhaps that's what in these cells, if this is a prison, and our archon is not in cells, but more of watchers and guides, hence why they have restrictions placed on them. But maybe I'll make a deeper video on that theory later. Hopefully you guys do get a general concept from this though. Also, maybe what was left around when they formed Celestia. So if you take that down, Celestia crumbles, and if it needs consistency of strong, powerful energy harvested from the lucky few who gets to go up to keep on living. I mean, Venti did say that the people who gets accepted their sacrifices seeded life in the unliving cosmos. Now I simply speculate all this because when Vanessa went in, she came back out a falcon, and those doors closed, and she's always watch over Mondstadt, so technically she too was recycled and is technically immortal. The second person we know who was accepted to Celestia, few is known of him, but he was Gyuha, a fighter who traveled the wilds and used the rain slasher as his signature weapon. His fighting style is studied by the Gyuha clan, including who uses the rain cutter art. Gyuha is an adeptus who ascended to Celestia and became a star above the stone forest in Liyue. So he too was recycled upon enter as well. The deeds that Celestia has done. Celestia punishes over celestials who break the rules and gives forbidden knowledge to humans. For instance, the Snake Man's Orobashi wanted to help Khaenri'ah because we all know they needed help. Check out my video if you don't know. Was threatened by Celestia because he got a hold of information he shouldn't have and was ordered by Celestia to off himself or be offed by them, which he had to comply. The man was just trying to make the world a better place for his suffering people, but Celestia was like, not today, not today. Celestia has obliterated civilizations like it was their main job. They got rid of the civilization that existed before they arrived to Tibet. Cecile civilization, Sudami Island, also can be learned in my video. This place, Khaenri'ah of course, and basically destroyed Khaenri'ah because they wanted Orobashi gone. Apparently Celestia is afraid of prosperity and advancement that isn't really in their plans and may send celestial nails to prevent it. The nails' purpose is to act on ley lines and disrupt them. So ley lines is basically flow of elemental energy in world, thus attacking it can cause serious impact, also called ley line disorders. Ley line disorders can cause various irregularities like making a whole region ice cold and also snowing with never melting snow, aka dragon spine, or to create a small time loop with ghosts created by people's memories of those areas by ley lines. People believe that Celestia started the Archon War and set its rules. The victors of the war became the 7 Archons. A few thousand years ago, 7 seats opened in Celestia and the gods on Teyvat waged a long and bloody war to claim those seats. The conflict dragged on for a good while before finally ending 2,000 years prior with the crowning of the 7 that we have now. This war too seems odd because Venti didn't even participate. He got his role based on process of elimination. He was the only one left to claim being the wind god. Elle most likely fought and eliminated herself so that her sister could win. And the way how Celestia seems to be moving, most of the time they don't really care about how they handle things, if people get hurt or if it's fair to others. It's all about their gain and benefits. So most likely this war that they wavered to hand out gnosis was a forced upon war. Survival of the fittest type vibe. I doubt they just opened 7 seats nonchalant and these current archons who want nothing to do with them now were so bloodthirsty to go for the seats that they chose to eliminate everyone else, especially when Zhongli keeps reminiscing about people from his past and the man's is basically depressed and even faked his own debt to get out of a contract. Celestia knows better than that and moves much shadier than that. Clearly it had to be a situation where they were like, yo, only 7 of you can live in this world now and the rest of you must die, so handle that amongst yourself. If you've given up everything in your life to fight for something and you realize they tricked you, then why are you not revolting against them or have an ounce of anger towards them to tell the rest of us players that they're evil? It had to be a case where everyone knew the rules beforehand. You have to fight to live. You're given a gnosis, your life is secured, and you have the ability to rebuild your nation. The rules had to be stated for our archons to be acting the way they're acting now towards Celestia. They fought to live and decided to build their nation how they deemed it fair for their people to live, which most likely is the opposite of how people can live in Celestia. So let's move on to why the archons hate Celestia. First off, so you all know each archon has a gnosis that connects these archons to Celestia. They're gods who are given up this very important thing that connects them to the people who made them gods. So, like they barely fought to keep it. Most didn't even fight at all, so keep that in mind. As I stated, Venti's not cool with them, and here's what he says on them. Now, Venti's statue is one that says Gateway to Celestia, and he's the oldest archon, so there must be more that he knows and just refuses to say, but the place is just a no-no for him. Now, back in the day, there was another wind god, and Venti was a mini wind spirit when he met a boy whose form he decided to take after that boy died when the people successfully overthrew the wind god. Venti became the new god, and he decided he won't rule like the previous god and gave the people their freedom, hence why Mondstadt became the city of freedom. If Venti is against Celestia, it's most likely because it too doesn't align with the toss of people having their freedom. Zhongli, also known as Morax, our geo-god, his feelings about Celestia are complex. Zhongli has a deep connection with Celestia. As the former god of the contracts, he was closely tied to Celestia and its workings as they used him to form some destruction in Khaenri'ah. He states, Zhongli seems to have fond memories of his time in Celestia and his role as god, but he also appears to harbor some resentment towards Celestia and its current ruling gods, possibly due to the event that led to his downfall. He seems to be the man in the middle, but he did give up his gnosis to end all contracts, which would include his that he has with Celestia. Nahida, our little dendro archon, seems to have no fear of Celestia and just yaps some info, more than what any of the other archons have given us. She says heavenly principles has been quiet since the Khaenri'ah disaster 500 years ago. I use this point as leverage against the doctor. She says it's suggesting that everyone knows the unknown god, including the Fatui, let alone the archons. She acknowledges that the heavenly prince has been silent since the catalysm 500 years ago and threatens to destroy the dendronosis to awaken the heavenly principles. She believes that the heavenly principles will act to destroy Tevet again if Celestia's authority is threatened. So technically, she's ready to challenge them, and that tiny thing is standing on business. She even learns that this guy isn't real, which could possibly be another reason why she's ready for the beef with them, because she knows they're pulling something over us. And of course, she can't just tell us, just like how she couldn't tell us the answer to the sleeping quest situation until we figure it out ourselves, because you can't wake a sleeping person. Furina. Now she's the Hydro Archon. There were one before her who didn't like Celestia. So far no one likes them. Furina herself has a mix of resentment and feelings for Celestia due to them always trying to ruin people's homes, of course, and because of the complex storyline of hers with Fossilers and Neuvillette. I'm going to try to explain it loosely. First off, Furina is not the actual Hydro Archon in Genshin Impact, but a separate entity from Focalers altogether. Furina is a human vessel held in the seat of the Hydro Archon in order to trick the heavenly principles, which he's been keeping up for 500 years. Focaler's plan was to save human life in Fontaine due to the sin of the first Hydro Archon before her, which she inherited the punishment for them because they transformed Oceanids into humans, which is a no-no for Celestia, like literally everything is. So Celestia was like, yo, gonna destroy you and your people, and Fossiler was like, nah, I'm working on a 500-year plan with my fake self, and once it activates, I'm going to return the powers of Hydro back to its original owners, the Hydro's sovereign dragon, who is Neuvillette. Now keep in mind, those powers belong to the 7 ruling dragons from day one. They originally ruled the world, and elements were stolen by the primordial one and used to create the seats of the 7 archons. The only way to restore the power of a dragon would be to destroy the seat of the Hydro Archon. So this means even though Neuvillette has back his powers, there won't be any other Hydro Archon due to the seat being destroyed. Celestia seems to hold grudges for a long time, and clearly these dragons are the rightful owners while Celestia is playing gods with their stolen powers. Now the Teritza. She's not here yet, but Teritza harbors deep resentment and hostility towards Celestia. She got beef heavy, viewing them as a tynarchal force responsible for the destruction of Khaenri'ah, her homeland, and she actively plots to rebel against them, forming the Fatui. They gather the gnosis of other archons to fuel her uprising. Essentially, she wants to overthrow Celestia authority and is driven by desire for vengeance. Now that to me sounds right, based on how Celestia is looking right now, so the Fatui might not be as bad as we make them out to be. I mean, look at Child, he's just a chill guy and all. Reagan Shogun definitely has a negative view of Celestia, likely due to the death of her sister, because it's more likely that they had some relation to that situation based on how we keep seeing Celestia move. Plus, the destruction of Khaenri'ah, which she witnessed and believed Celestia was responsible for, this leads to a deep-seated resentment and distrust towards the Celestia entity, even to the point where she put Inazuma on a standstill, closed off from everyone else. She noticed a pattern of places developing in a way that threatened Celestia, and they seemed to put a stop to it for reasons unknown. So she seemed to have pursued eternity because she wants to preserve Inazuma as it is, preventing change and loss by maintaining a static state, believing that this is the only way to protect her people. Manuka. She just touched down. I haven't heard anything about her views on Celestia as yet, unless I'm missing something, so if you guys do know anything on it, tell me in the comments. I do know that she is 500 years old, and she was asleep for some. The archons mention a different name for the Pyro Archon, and there was one present during Khaenri'ah's time. Is our sibling involved with Celestia in any way? Well, yes and no. Yes, they're involved somehow. We don't know how as yet, but they have formed the Abyss Order and harbors a deep hatred for Celestia, viewing it also as a tynarchal entity responsible for the suffering and destruction they experience, likely due to the events that separated them from the Traveler and the perceived manipulation of fate by the heavenly principles. They aim to bring about his downfall through their actions in the Abyss. So something happened between them and now we have a fallout. With Celestia just racking up enemies, who would think that anyone would be on their side? So, here on my channel, I like when you guys are able to listen to both sides and form your opinion. So we'll look at what others say about Celestia, because there's some people who state that they're not as bad as they seem. And with Genshin, that could be very well possible, that they're framing someone out to be the bad guy to distract us from the actual bad guy. Some say that Celestia isn't evil because there are rules that they've set in place for Tevet to be functioning under. And with that, people who's broken the rules are rightfully punished for order to be restored, which of course is a fair point because rules help a society function and Celestia creates humanity. Anyways, so it could just be their natural way of preserving us. It's a case where Celestia moves in a certain way that we can't understand, and even if their moves don't seem right or beneficial to us, in that moment, it's all for the greater good. Now, in my opinion, I have a feeling Celestia is a trap that harvests people's energy, such as their ambition and strong will, that powers their vision in Tevet to keep fueling itself. These people who ascend are basically their energy pack, and then they'll recycle you because you know the nature cycle and all. Do what you may with this viewpoint, guys, and comment your opinions. See you next time for another video. Like and subscribe so I continue. Bye!